Hello everyone, welcome to next session on SAP authorization. Why do we require authorization? First of all, protecting sensitive business data in the basis of law, agreement and regulation. A company must meet certain legal requirement based on the country they are operating. This includes, for example, data protection law. Personal data, like some of the countries are very strict on this policy. Personal data should not be revealed to all the employees in the company, or maybe something like family status or illness of particular person and so on. Or employee protection, there are country specific law for all these things, so we need to meet this particular requirement. Next one is agreements. Maybe company have some kind of agreements with their partners and vendors to ensure some kind of data protection. Then the company must publish a enforced security policy so that the secure environment can be established and maintained. This applies both to data used in external and the data used in internal. Next is cost benefit relation. There are large number of different possible threats. Perfect security could not be achieved with cross-dimensional assignment of authorization. However, benefit achieved in often related to costs incurred to implement the security policy. So we need to analyze this cross-benefit analysis, whether it makes sense to apply that much money to achieve this security policy. So therefore a company should consider the benefits what you are going to achieve. Maybe some case that does not benefits that much money which you are investing protects some of the data. This is the fact. It is impossible to ensure complete security against all potential threat. Therefore, the company must be able to identify extraordinary risk of a threat against the cost of security system. Next one is abstraction of business process. If you see, it's a disadvantage if a business process are controlled in authorization in such a way that every call leads to an error message that you are not authorized to do, or things like this. A situation of like this, it's not a favorable process for a company. So the situation like this is not favoring anything for the company. So only the structured way of authorization assignment is the only way to approach this problem. Otherwise, it's quite often difficult to remove the abstraction from the business process because of the complex way that we develop the authorization concept. Meaning only the transparent structured in a small, you break down all your authorization concept into small elements of authorization, then it's easy for you to identify the problems and fix this kind of issues. So it's very important to identify the authorization and create a concept in such a way that it is beneficial for the company. Next, let's see security in general. When you develop a security concept, first you must determine what you want to make safe, which asset needs to be protected, to which category this asset belongs to. For example, it may be a hardware or software or a data or maybe a person. When you are assigning asset to categories, consider the consequences of losing this particular asset, and you need to have actually a value for each asset which is assigned to different categories. You must also determine against what we are going to protect. What is the threat? Potential source of damages are, for example, environment or a person important for employee leaving the company. This is a threat for the company. Technology, the processing errors is a threat for the company as well. Virus and power supply interruption, hardware failure, these are all threats. So environment, for example, fire, flood, earthquake, these are all again a threat, also a security threat for the company. Yeah? So meaning to say, when you are designing a security concept, first we need to be very clear on what determines the security threat for the specific asset. Okay, now let's look into our SAP access control. In order to work in SAP system, user required a user ID, then user master record need to be created in each SAP system. This user master record also contains a password, and the system anyway will prompt you to enter the username and password. The number of There are numerous mechanisms to prevent unauthorized access to our SAP system that can raise the security level in the system, if let's assume if it is configured properly. There are like these configurable settings, like minimum password length. Yeah, this is a security measure. Or maybe an expiration date of password. That means like every 30 days or every 90 days this password will expire and you need to change this password. This is a security measures which will increase the security level. We will also see the details in our coming lessons. For example, protecting business data. Yeah, as we see in SAP have different transactions for each programs, and each programs, inside this each programs you have authorization checks, or so-called authority checks to identify who is accessing this data, or what kind of authorization, what kind of access they are allowed to do inside this particular transaction or programs. Okay, let's see a scenario here. Okay, in this example, Kelly is creating purchase request. They have authorization to create purchase request. Then Chin is releasing the purchase request using a different transaction code. So let's say Kelly used the transaction code ME51 to create the purchase request, and Kelly is somebody who was supposed to release the purchase request. So then he will use a different transaction code called ME54 and release the purchase request which was created by Kelly. Let's assume that Chin is an highest authority who has authorized to, who can say okay, go ahead with this purchase. Then Mark is a procurement team lead who can convert this purchase request into a purchase order. This is the process. So by identifying each process inside SAP using a different transaction code and assigning these different transaction code to different people, then we can identify the user who is creating the purchase request, or what they are supposed to do, or what level of authorization they can have. That means only creating purchase requisition, or the per second user whose level of authorization is only creating or releasing the purchase request, and this person cannot create purchase order without this person's authorization or without this person's consent. So like this in SAP we can differentiate the employees, as well as we can map their job function to specific authorization. Using our authorization we can map their specific function, job function, to the authorization it is provided in the system, what they can do in the system. Technical implementation of role. For example, for purchaser role, yeah, this purchaser role will have different kind of transaction codes, yeah, creating purchase order or changing purchase order or display purchase order. Each will have its own transaction code. These transaction codes will be assigned to role which is called a single role. Then we can also like combine so many single role and create something called job role or a composite role. That means to a specific function, then we can have more than one roles assigned. For example, here in our previous example, Kelly have create purchase request. That means ME 51. So let's assume we create one role for create purchase request and assign to Kelly. Then here when you come to Chin, she have authorization to create purchase requisition. Also she have authorization to release purchase requisition. She have authorization to release purchase requisition. Uh, that means, and the assumption Chin is an higher authority of Kelly, then she have two different job roles. So these two different she have two different roles. So let's assume we have one role created for Kelly, which is for purchase requisition, role created for purchase requisition release or releasing of purchase requisition. Then we can create a composite role for Chin called something called purchase release or something, purchase admin, let's assume, and assign these two different single role to that composite role, then assign to Chin. Composite role is nothing but its number of single roles. It does not carry any technical objects in the composite role. So it's a combination. It's like a container for all the single roles inside. Single role means it contains all the transaction code and the respective additional authorization object. We will see that in detail. So this roles again assigned to a user, and this role also have this transaction reports and web links for some cases. Let's say you are using some web access, some web links in a day-to-day basis, that you wanted to switch between SAP and web link, then you can also have a web link assigned to this user inside SAP. Just double clicking that web link, they can directly go to that particular website, or it will open the Internet Explorer and go to that particular website. Then inside this roles, this also have all the authorization objects, what they can do within this particular transaction, and that altogether, if let's assume you have so many single role as we seen in our previous case, then we can create a composite role assigned to the user. This is a overview of implementing a technical role. As we seen in our previous session, this is like a user specific menu. So based on what we have assigned in the role, that user will have that specific menu. For example, here Mark have this kind of this user menu. Let's go to our system. How did he got this menu in place? Let's log in. Okay, he got this menu. How do we got this? So if we go to his user master, log in as a user administrator or a security consultant. Go to their user master SU01, select, then put the user ID. This is the user ID which we are trying to use. Say display. So this button is for display. You simply click display and go to the role. Here this is a role which is assigned to this user. This user menu is coming from this role. If you double click here, purchase order displayed in a new screen. If we go here, you can see this is the menu he got in while he log into the system. We will come to this in detail, how do we create these roles and menus. Yeah, for time being this is just for information. Okay, with this we are coming to the end of this session. Thank you very much for listening. I will see you in the next session. Bye bye.